Hey guys, Mr. T here for another video. For those of you who didn't see my other video, I started a mini series. Oh, I started a little mini series going on. I'm going to intermix with some other videos here and there. And this series is the top 10 Pokemon from each generation. Right? So that's basically what I'm doing. So not only that, but I'm also I'm also putting these videos out there in order of which Pokedexes as a whole are my favorite. So I'm going in reverse order. I started with number 9. So if you haven't already seen the video, my last one, the Kalos region, Gen 6, that was video number 1. So that's my 9th favorite Pokedex. So again, basically just a quick rundown. If you want more, you can go watch that video first. But I'm basically ranking the Pokemon in that Pokedex. So the 150 Pokemon or odd Pokemon in that Pokedex for each generation. My top 10, and then I'm ranking that entire Pokedex as a whole compared to the other 8 Pokedexes that are out there. All right. So my top 10 favorite from the Unova. Quick little rundown on the rules. Only one direct member from each family line. That'll come up when we start getting into evolutions, and you'll see what I mean later. So I'm not going to put regional forms as the main, but the regional form can influence the Pokemon. This video actually will have that take effect. My last video didn't have it, but this video will. And then no limit on starters or legendaries. Now, I tried to at least limit legendaries because some of these videos, I mean, you could argue legendaries all day long. Yes or no, it's whatever. So I try to at least put maybe only one legendary, but most of my videos aren't going to be that way. It really is just the one if I do have a legendary. So let's dive in. So my number 10 is Zebstrika, however you pronounce it. I've heard it both ways. So I mean, it's a cool zebra. I mean, I like the electric typing. Again, electric is my favorite type. He looks cool. I like the zebra aesthetic, and I just think it's a solid Pokemon. I didn't use it too much in battle. I've actually grown to like it somewhat from the Pokemon cards, and then my son rewatched some of the TV show. But I just think it's a cool concept, you know, the zebra, especially the electric zebra, you know, because they have like stripes, and they took those stripes and turned them into like thunderbolts. So I always thought Zebstrika was a cool Pokemon. I never really used him too much in the grand scheme of things, but I still think he's a good, solid design. And I mean, Unova has some great Pokemon, but because Unova, and for those of you who don't know the Black and White games, Black and White and then Black 2 and White 2, there's supposed to be a soft reset of the Pokemon series. Because all the people who were kids when they got the original Pokemon games, the Kanto games, they were now, you know, older teens, young adults, and a whole new era of little kids were getting into Pokemon. So they thought, let's do a soft reset on the Pokemon series, and then we can bring back the older fans while we also get the new fans in. This isn't my opinion. Like, they actually went out and said this. Representatives from Nintendo and stuff. So, you know, the other thing is when when Unova and Black and White came out, that was my era. I was like a late teen-ish, or going into my late teens, early 20s, and honestly, I was big into Call of Duty and Halo Online and all those. So this is where my love of Pokemon probably hit its lowest. So I really didn't play Black and White very much. I played Black and White 2 a little bit. But, you know, even Kalos, I didn't really play X and Y too much. It wasn't until Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out that I really got back into Pokemon, because Ruby and Sapphire were originally my favorites. So that's why Kalos and Unova are really low on my list. And again, that's why I don't really use Zebstrika much, or Strika, because, you know, it is what it is. So, all right. So with that soft reset I was talking about earlier, a lot of Pokemon in the Unova basically are redos of the original Kanto Pokemon. So that's kind of why there's a lot of Pokemon in Unova that I feel like I'm like, oh, okay, that's just a generic or off-brand version of so-and-so from Kanto. So that's kind of why. But Zebstrika is really not one of those, at least not one that I can see. There's not a whole lot of, you know, there isn't a zebra Pokemon in the Kanto region, but yeah. So I like Zebstrika number 10. Now for my number 9, this kind of looks like a a ripoff almost of like Tyranitar with like a little bit of a mix of some others, but it's Haxorus. Again, Haxorus is cool. I like the dragon typing. I like his armor. I really like his blades on his mouth so he can like, kind of like a battle axe almost. He's a cool, solid Pokemon. But again, a lot of Unova Pokemon fall into that trap of they almost feel like they're ripoffs of earlier gen Pokemon. Because quite frankly, and this is in my opinion, that quite frankly, they are technically ripoffs. And I don't mean ripoffs, but they're copies because again, it was a soft reset. But Haxorus is still a cool Pokemon. I did use him, or I tried to use him whenever I could on my black and white teams. But again, he's solid and all. I you get him later in the game, so that's kind of why he's lower on my list, because I would get him, but I wouldn't get him until the back half of the games, really. Now, my next one actually came, him jumping into my top 10 actually came more recently because of his Pokemon cards. I love how he's gotten a couple special illustrations, and I actually pulled two of his special illustrations, his two most recent ones, including the one I believe in Black Bolt. I think it was Black Bolt or White Flare. I always get those two mixed up, just like I said in the last video. But yeah, I think he's cool, and he's a great Pokemon, and I like the concept, and that's Crustle. I mean, Crustle's got some cool Pokemon cards. Dwebble is pretty cool. I like that concept of bug rock Pokemon, and I think it's cool how, when a crab, basically like a crab, switches shells, they always pick up another shell, but you get those occasional crabs where it's like they get into a water bottle or something like that. So to see a rock, I think it's just a cool concept, and I think it's kind of outside the box. I know this is supposed to technically be Paris or Parasect, but again, I really like the whole, rock vibe, and I think Bug Rock is actually kind of a cool combo. Okay. Now my next one, being an Arizonan, true, born and raised, definitely has a huge part to play with this next one, and that's Maractus. I actually think Maractus is better than Cacnea and Cacturne. I love Maractus. I think it's such a cool Pokemon. I have a couple versions of its illustration rares, one of which I bought because I was at a card show, and then I ended up pulling it later. But I think Maractus is so cool. Again, I love cactuses. Being from Arizona, we actually have cactuses at our house. My son and I actually grow our own they're called succulents technically. And I'm an Arizonan through and through. The desert is my home, and I love Maractus. When I did a playthrough of the not X and Y, Sword and Shield, the Galar region, I actually went out of my way to get a Maractus, just so I could have it on my team to be my grass Pokemon. So I like Maractus. It's so cool. Honestly, I probably could have put Maractus higher on this list. But, So my number 6, and I got actually kind of somewhat messed up on this. I forgot something, and that's Braviary. I actually, because of Braviary probably should have been above Maractus and maybe even Crustle. Not Haxorus, though. I'd put him 8 at the most. But his Hisuian form is what put him higher on this list. And I forgot to put that on here. I forgot to put a little picture of it. But I think Braviary is cool. Plus, he's got that America vibe because he's like almost like a bald eagle. Actually, kind of like is a bald eagle. So I love his overall look. He's one of my more favorite bird Pokemon. And I just think he's a cool, solid Pokemon. I like Ruffet. It's such a cute little Pokemon. And Braviary is actually stacked in battle. I know he's not the best when it comes to type matchups and stuff to a degree, but it is nice because he has that normal flying, so fighting types aren't as effective as they could be, and you do have some advantages there. But I think he's just a cool-looking Pokemon. And again, any Pokemon that reminds me of America or Arizona has to be on a list. Fun fact. The Unova series, or Black and White, are actually not the first Pokemon game based outside of Japan, and it's not the first Pokemon game based in the United States. So Unova is based on the United States, the big city. I'm drawing a blank on its name. It's technically supposed to be New York, but it is not the first. The first Pokemon game, and you can double check this, the first Pokemon game to take place outside of Japan, and the first Pokemon game in America, so technically it'd be the same thing, was actually Pokemon Coliseum and Gale of Darkness. Gale of Darkness was actually better. And guess where they took place? The Ore region, and you can fact check me on this, the Ore region in that game is based on none other than my home, Arizona. Double check on that. So I love how people are always like, oh yeah, Unova's the first Pokemon game outside of America or outside of Japan. Or they're like, oh yeah, Unova's the first American Pokemon game. It's not. Arizona did it first. So another reason why Arizona's the best. All right, moving on to my top 5 now that I got off of my other little tangent. So my number 5, I definitely think Legend ZA helped this Pokemon, but it really didn't do anything to it on my ranking. It was still easily 5th or 6th, and that's Chandelure. I think Chandelure is awesome. When I first saw Litwick, I'm like, oh my god, I need this Pokemon. And then when I evolved it, I thought, oh my god, Chandelure is so cool. The Ghost Fire typing. I mean, Ghost isn't like my favorite. It's like middle of the road. But Ghost Fire, that specific combination, I love it. I don't know what it is, but I think it's cool. And I'm not even like this scary guy. Like, I don't like scary movies and all that spooky stuff, which is kind of weird because I got married on Halloween. But again, it's one of those things where I just like the aesthetic of Chandelure, and I think it's such a cool Pokemon, especially Litwick. Lepen's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm kind of ticked off at it because I tried capturing one in Legend ZA, and for some reason I defeated it and threw an Ultra Ball after it, and it took me like 6 attempts. I don't know what the heck was going on with that Lepen, but it ticked me off. This just happened the other day. But yeah, Chandelure is a stacked and awesome Pokemon. Now, my next one, he actually got a huge bump because of his Hisuian form. I probably might not have even put him on my list. I might have even put a different starter on my list. But after his Hisuian form, wasn't even a question, and that's Samurott. Original Samurott, he's not bad. He's okay. I don't know what it was. I just felt like there was something about him, especially Oshawott to Dewott, or Dewott, or however you pronounce it. I felt that Samurott kind of went in a different direction. Like you can see the elements of Oshawott there, but he kind of veered off. But then his Hisuian form, I mean, look at that. That thing is amazing. The water dark typing, I mean, the Hisuian forms, I hate Typhlosion. I did not like him, especially after all that stuff that came out about him last year. I felt vindicated because I've had some friends who actually were like, oh, you like Meganium better, haha. And then that stuff came out last year, and I'm like, yes, vindication. But Hisuian Typhlosion, which didn't do any of that stuff that they talked about last year, he's cool. I thought he was great. Hisuian Decidueye, oh my god, I loved him. And then Hisuian Samurott, I think they cooked with the Arceus starters. They are so cool. So I do think Samurott got a huge bump with his Hisuian form. And I mean, just look at the two. Look at the comparison. I mean, the regular Samurott's not bad, but Hisuian Samurott, I just think he is so cool. He's got that, like, old Japanese guy vibe, like he's gonna, like, kill you just by thinking or something. I mean, he just looks so cool. Now, for my top 3... I don't know how people are going to feel about this, because I've heard both ways on this one, but my number 3 is Zekrom. I like Reshiram, don't get me wrong. I love Reshiram. He's not a bad Pokemon at all, but I didn't want to stack both of them on here, so I don't know, I mean, I just felt a little weird putting both, and the reason I choose Zekrom is because my favorite type is Electric. I mean, Reshiram's fire, so fire is my second, but I like Zekrom better. I think he's a cool Pokemon. I think he is technically cooler than Reshiram. I like his movesets, and he's pretty tough in battle, too. I mean, so is Reshiram. But I love Zekrom. I love the way he looks. I've loved him ever since the original game, and the Pokemon Black game is actually my main game for Black and White. So every time the new Pokemon games come out, I always get 2. One of them I complete all the way to the end, and then I never reset it. It's my main game. And then the other one I kind of use as a side game just to repeat and replay. Pokemon Black was my main game because of Zekrom, so yeah. And then my number 2 and my number 1, if you've seen any of my other videos, especially my more recent video, not the first one in this series, but the last one I did, you know who number 2 and 1 are. Number 2 is Timber. I've talked about him in multiple videos. I think he's cool. I like his look. He's got that little grimacing grin. Plus his Pokemon cards are so cool, especially the more recent illustration rares that have been coming out. And then my number 1, again, anyone who's watched any of my videos knows it's Sawsbuck. I mean, you know, if you haven't figured that out by now, you haven't seen enough of my videos, and that's probably your first one. And if it is, go watch some of my other videos, because I like putting my opinions out there, and I kind of like the sound of my own voice. So Saucebuck is great. I love Pokemon that change or have different forms, and I don't mean like male, female, or shiny and stuff like that, where like they have different color schemes. And I like Saucebuck because it introduced seasons, which was the first time in the Pokemon series that did that. They haven't done too much with the season since, but I do like the concept of it. I thought it was kind of cool. And then Deer Link's cool. And again, the cards that they have, the one I think it was from Temporal Forces, I think it was, where it's the seasons in the background and the two cards go together. So amazing. And that's why Saucebuck's up there. So yeah. As always, thank you, Americans. Stay beautiful. Stick around for video number 7, or video number 3, my 7th favorite Pokedex. Peace out. Stay beautiful. All that stuff. And go watch some other videos if you haven't already.